Guaita in goal with a back four of Ward, Tompkins, Guehi and Mitchell. Well, it's a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us on this independent off-tube studio commentary. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff from Selhurst Park where Crystal Palace take on Aston Villa. So it's Patrick Vieira against Steven Gerrard as far as the managerial battle is concerned for the game this afternoon. The players have just taken the knee and Michael Salisbury, our referee, has just got the game underway. And so Palace, who have been in good form after a bit of a slow start in the season, they've actually unbeaten since mid-September. Villa, of course, had that shocking run of defeats, arrested by that win in their first game under Steven Gerrard. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz and Jack Deaton taking you through the action. Jack, do we make the home side as favourite this afternoon?
Yeah, I think we have to. I think Palace are a good side. I watched them last week against Burnley. I was really impressed with the way that they attack, the way they do things. I think they do it all in the right way. They're just very susceptible to conceding goals, especially from set pieces. So, hopefully we'll get a good game, but Villa are tough. We still don't know exactly what to expect from a Steven Gerrard side, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what they give us.
Absolutely. Just to run you through the 2-11s very quickly, it's Vicente Guaita in goal for Palace with a back four of Joel Ward, James Tompkins, Mark Guehi and Tyrick Mitchell. The three in midfield are Conor Gallagher, Luka Milivojevic and Cheku Kuyate, with Michael Elise, Wilfred Zaha and Christian Benteke as the three up front for Villa. It is Emiliano Martinez in goal with a back four of Matt Cash, Ezri Konsa, Tyrone Mings and Matt Targett. The two holder midfielders are John McGinn and Marvellous Nakamba, with Leon Bailey, Jacob Ramsey and Ashley Young as the attacking three playing behind Ollie Watkins. It's been a bit of a slow start to the game so far, just a bit of a midfield possession for the two sides, but there's a quick ball being played down the right hand side now, one for Bailey to chase. It's been held up here by Mitchell all the way to the corner of the field there. Mitchell manages to touch that one onto Bailey as well, who's not convinced by that decision, but it is going to be a throw to Palace. And certainly Leon Bailey's a player that's had some really good performances in Germany, Jamaican international, and so he'll certainly be looking to try and make a good impression now because he seems to be getting a run of games.
Yeah, he's a player that needs to make an impression. I think he came to the Premier League, a lot of people knew who he was because of how well he was playing at Bayer Leverkusen, and then since coming because of injuries and things like that, he's not really got going. Today's the perfect type of day as well, because if he's down that right-hand side, he can really get at Tyrick Mitchell. Alternatively, if he goes down the left, he can have a go at Joel Ward. It's two full-backs that are there for the taking, so Leon Bailey should be looking at it and thinking today's the day that he can really get out there and cause problems.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for him. It's a good opportunity for Villa now as well. Bit of a clumsy challenge in midfield from Conor Gallagher. He feels as though there wasn't too much in that, but he just collides with Jacob Ramsey, doesn't take the ball, and this is a free kick to Aston Villa now. Pretty much arrow straight line from the penalty spot, but maybe about 3 or 4 yards just outside the D. So either a left or a right footer might feel as though they can do a bit of damage here. At the moment it's Bailey, Watkins and Ashley Young just discussing what they're going to do with this free kick. Ramsey's just a little bit further behind as well. And the referee Michael Salisbury just getting that wall in order as well. But this is a great opportunity early on for Villa. I can tell you that Liverpool have taken an early lead against Southampton. Diogo Jota with the goal for Liverpool. But it looks like it's Bailey making more of the... trying to measure up exactly what he's going to do with this free kick. You can see that Cash and Nakamba are in the middle of that Palace wall just to try and make a nuisance of themselves as well. So looks like Bailey has stepped away, and it's either going to be him or Young. Referee still not happy with what he sees in the wall. It's taking a very long time for this free kick to be taken. I think he's going to have to just paint a bit of a longer line now with that with those additional Villa players at the end of it. But in the meantime, Guaita stood in the middle of the goal, which is actually quite unusual these days. Most keepers tend to position themselves over to one side or the other. 4 minutes gone, and we're finally going to be able to see this set piece now. Referee seems to think that everything is okay. Once again, Ashley Young is unhappy now because he feels as though there is a Palace player, Guehi, who is in front of the wall. He is in front of the wall, but he's saying he's got to try and mark Tyrone Mings. I'm not really sure what the referee can do here other than to tell the Palace player to get back. It's taking a very, very long time. But we can finally see this free kick now. And it is going to be Leon Bailey. It's a very, very tame free kick. Hits it at shin height into the wall, and that one's cleared back into midfield. Ramsey now tries to pump that ball into the penalty area. He's charged down by Benteke, and then it's Targett with a good ball down the left-hand side. John McGinn stays on his feet and puts a cross into the back post. It's taken down by Bailey, puts it onto his left, then onto his right. Back heels it now to Cash, who is a scuffed left-footed effort. Does it get a deflection? I don't think it does. And in the end, it's out for a goal kick. Well, it took a while, but we finally saw that Villa free kick.
Yeah, and it wasn't worth seeing, was it, Paul, to be honest? Not a very good free kick whatsoever from Leon Bailey. But then, to be fair to Villa, they immediately reset and went again, creating a nice chance. I was talking about Bailey having a go at Mitchell, and that's exactly what he did there. Got away from him. Nice back heel as well. I think Cash probably could have done with laying it off as opposed to trying to shoot with his weaker left foot from a tight angle and players in front of him. But a bright start from Aston Villa, to be fair to them. They're trying to get at Palace. They're trying to cause problems. But what we will see, and what happens with Palace when they settle, is they start passing it around at the back and building through. If Villa want to get anything from today, they have to keep Conor Gallagher quiet, because he's the player that picks it up from midfield and drives. So as long as they can keep him quiet, they should be okay today. So it'll be interesting to see how Palace combat that and how Villa try and stop them.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really is that sort of interesting matchup we've got in that midfield. Certainly looks as though Villa are sort of more set for attack. Palace with that midfield three, Milivojevic and Kouyaté, pretty much defensive midfielders before they are anything else. Kouyaté spent a lot of time playing at centre-back, not just at Palace but at West Ham as well. Michael Elise now down the right-hand side for Palace. 6 minutes gone. Independent off-tube studio commentary. Goalless between Palace and Villa. It's also goalless between Norwich and Wolves. And Liverpool are leading by a goal to nil against Southampton. All three games available on our service, as is the late kick-off for Brighton against Leeds. But now a good ball down the left-hand side for Wilfried Zaha. He gets on the end of it, tries to put an early cross in. He's charged down by Matt Cash, and now Palace have their first set piece. It's a corner. Yeah,
he did the right thing there, Zaha, as opposed to trying to take on Matty Cash, who's a very good defender. Try and get that ball in early, cause problem that way, and that's what he did. And Palace were dangerous from set pieces last week against Burnley. They'll want to be just as dangerous today. Mark Guehi is really important in the middle, so I'd expect to see him the target.
He's just at the edge of the penalty area. It's a short corner kick now between Elise and Milivojevic. And Milivojevic whips the ball into the near post, headed away. There's still it's some trouble here for Villa as the strike comes in from Guehi. It's charged down by Targett. Loose ball now back with Conor Gallagher. He puts a cross in. Tyrone Mings beats his goalkeeper to it, but there was too many Palace players around. Probably a safety first there from Mings, out for another corner.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think Martinez has to be louder there and claim it, because in all fairness, there's nobody around him. It's relatively comfortable for the goalkeeper. Mings gets in the way and does what he should be doing if he's not heard a call from his goalkeeper. Absolutely,
heads it out for a corner. It's going to be another short one here. Elise to Milivojevic, then back to Elise, left-footed cross into the box, headed away by Marvellous Nakamba. Kept alive here by Zaha. Just collides there with John McGinn. No free kick, though. Back with Milivojevic down the right-hand side. His cross is charged down by Watkins. Still back in defence, of course, after those two corner kicks. And Elise now takes the throw. Goes back towards Joel Ward. Michael Elise again under pressure here from Watkins. Plays it inside. Spots a bit of space here for Kouyaté. He goes square to Guecki. Over towards the left-hand side now for Mitchell. Being stood up here by Matt Cash, going back towards Guecki again, being closed down by Bailey and by Watkins. But Palace aren't panicking, keeping possession in midfield now with Tompkins over to Ward on the right-hand side. Back in towards Milivojevic, and this is better from Palace now after that bright start from Villa.
Yeah, it's as I said, they just want to calm it down and try and get in possession as much as they can and create something in the correct way. It's the way that Patrick Vieira wants his side to play football, and they've been very impressive this season for doing just that. It's such a difference to what we saw under Roy Hodgson, where it was combative and there was a lot of long balls and it wasn't particularly good to watch. At the moment, for me, I think Palace are one of the better sides to watch in the division, and at the moment we're just seeing them settle down, try and draw Villa out of defence. We saw against Brighton that Villa were a bit of a slow burner for large parts of the game before then getting the goals late on. So again, I think this is going to be a really interesting first half to see whether Villa turn the screw at all or whether it's going to be all Palace from here on in.
Absolutely, and I think that the Villa players will know they're going to be under the... I mean, any Premier League team is under the microscope anyway, but now, of course, with Steven Gerrard as their manager, always been talk that he was destined for a Premier League job. Certainly a bit of bad blood left behind in Glasgow, with quite a few of the Rangers fans feeling as though it was a demotion for Gerrard to take this Villa job, having done so much with Rangers. But Villa having to do some work in defence now as Mitchell's ball. He was aiming for Gallagher, but it's cleared up into midfield now. Chased down here by Joel Ward. No one really pressing, so he's got time here, just plays it square to James Tompkins. And again, no thoughts of trying to play this long, just back towards Guehi on the left-hand side. And Villa just struggling to get hold of the ball in these last few minutes, but Palace certainly not rushing to try and get forward as Gallagher now going back towards Tompkins. See that Ashley Young. It's nice to see Ashley Young actually playing in that more attacking role. I thought with every sort of year his positioning seems to get more and more defensive, but he's back in that midfield three, attacking three now. Yeah,
it's similar to the way that James Milner's career sort of went further and further back on the pitch as he went on. But yeah, Ashley Young's a player who can deliver the ball from an attacking position. He's decent defensively, he does a job, but I think his ability in terms of crossing and things like that is where he really stands out. He's not got the pace that he used to have, but he's a real asset going forward, and it's good that Steven Gerrard's identified that. Obviously knows him from their England days together and other bits like that, but it's good to see him in those positions and then working off the likes of Jacob Ramsey and Ollie Watkins to open up space at the back.
He's got a bit of an attitude as well, which is in a good way, I think, Ashley Young. I think that was always something that opposition players, referees would always get an earful from Ashley Young if he felt as though he was in the right, and that sometimes helps just to spur teammates on as well, as Elise plays a lovely crossfield ball to find Zaha. Zaha takes it down with the right, then strikes it with the left. It's just wide of the post. Bit of acknowledgement there from Zaha that perhaps he could have looked to pass it. Wasn't really forced into taking the shot on, but he wasn't far away. Yeah,
it's a lovely ball, isn't it, initially from Elise into Zaha. I think it's Cash who just leaves him too much space, and Zaha turns brilliantly to get away from both Konsa and Cash, and then just drags the shot in the end. That was all it was. Potentially, Tyrrell Mitchell was to his left as well. He could have left it for him, but from there, Wilfried Zaha's only got one thing on his mind. That's to get a shot off and try and cause problems. And to be fair, it wasn't too far away.
No, it wasn't too far away at all. And as I say, I'm going to give Ezri Konsa the benefit of the doubt that he slipped just in front of Zaha, because that was a bit of a wild lunge in front of the Palace number 11. But the home side straight back in possession here. Villa didn't do too much from the goal kick, and it's Palace now in possession just at the edge of the penalty area on the right-hand side with Ward and Elise. Can tell you that Liverpool are 2 up against Southampton now, just inside the first 12 minutes. And it's Sadio Mane with the second goal, so it could be one of those afternoons for Southampton at Anfield. Here comes Ward now, finding Gallagher at the edge of the area, just being stopped there by Mings, goes back to Elise, and now it's Ward's ball into the box. He gets away from Nakamba, it also gets away from Benteke. It's almost as if Benteke wasn't expecting that ball to reach him, but now chance for Villa to break out as Young lays this ball off, and it's John McGinn who's stopped in his tracks there by Kouyaté. A bit of a look back towards the referee, but I didn't think there was any foul in that. And now Gallagher brings the ball forward for Palace, getting towards the edge of the area, finds Elise on the right-hand side, been blocked here by Targett. Elise puts a cross in, which is deflected away by Targett, kept alive here by Milivojevic, heads it down. Mitchell then wanted too much time at the edge of the area. Good challenge, though, from Kouyaté, just to try and keep the move alive. But Bailey's then taken out by a slightly more industrious challenge there. That's the kind of challenge you would expect from Milivojevic, to be fair. And it's just going to be a warning for now, but Milivojevic is always a good bet for a yellow card, isn't he?
Yeah, I think you called it an industrious challenge. I would say it's a poor challenge. It's just a bit rash from him. He doesn't need to go to ground there. Dives in. Yes, he thwarts Bailey from getting any further. Kind of a take one for the team, but he didn't need to do it, but he still stepped in anyway. It was a nice little passage of play from Villa initially as they were going forward before they then lost it. But Palace look dangerous, don't they, when they step forward? And it's interesting because crosses into the penalty area. Villa are stepping off. They're not attacking the ball. They're almost allowing Palace to bring the ball down in the penalty area. That will cost them if they keep doing it. Granted, they don't want to step out and be rash and leave a gap. But I think especially if there's a cross into the area, get out, attack that ball and get rid of it, which is what they're not doing.
Absolutely. I mean, Benteke, when he gets something like that, he will be able to take advantage. But here come Villa now with Bailey. Just lifts that cross a little bit too high for Ashley Young. Ollie Watkins still keeps it alive on the left-hand side, goes back to Targett. Here's Watkins again, left-hand edge of the penalty area. Just can't get past Elise and Gallagher. Plays it back in towards Ramsey. Nakamba now to Watkins. This is around 30 yards out. Watkins heading towards the penalty area now. Steps away from Kouyaté and then threads the ball in towards Matt Cash. It was the right idea. Perhaps just a little bit under hit there from Watkins, and in any case Mitchell does well, he puts it out for a corner.
Yeah, I think in the end Matty Cash knows that he doesn't need to step in there, and Mitchell will inadvertently put it behind. So it was good play. It was again Watkins transitioning across from left to right, did really well just to open up the space. And I mentioned last week that Palace was susceptible from set plays. Can Villa take advantage?
It's a good chance here now as Ashley Young steps over to take this corner kick. Just double checking with the linesman, although we know the ball's virtually never in the quadrant anyway, just sort of touching one of the sides of it. But there's a cluster of Villa players at the edge of the area, right by the corner kick taken, and there's three just at the edge of the 6-yard box. It's Young's corner kick, it goes straight through to Targett. Targett with the strike, and it's in the back of the net. Aston Villa lead on 15 minutes. It's all far too easy, really. Matt Targett, perhaps unwisely, diving to that ultra section at Selhurst Park just to try and rile the home fans a little bit, but the away fans will be delighted. Villa with an early lead.
Yeah, it's a shocker. It's a real shocker. Last week they conceded all 3 of the goals against Burnley from set pieces, and this one, I mean, they've obviously not learned the lesson from last week. High ball into the back post. Tyrone Mings attacks it. I'm not sure whether he gets anything on it or not, but 2 Crystal Palace defenders went with Tyrone Mings and left Matt Targett stood at the far side of the penalty area. It's Kouyaté and Tompkins who both go with Mings. It leaves Targett to bring the ball down. It's a nice first touch. He then hits it early, which catches Guaita off balance, shall we say. So Guaita can't react to it. Decent strike, and Villa ahead, but again, Palace will be scratching their heads because they've conceded from a set piece.
It is far too easy. I mean, that injury to Tyrone Mings, it looks as though Kouyaté just got a bit of a flailing arm catching Tyrone Mings just as he's trying to jump for that. But Steven Gerrard will be delighted. His side have just withstood a good 5-minute spell where Palace were very much on top. Villa actually struggled to get out of their own half. And now a slightly more frustrated look there from Palace manager Patrick Vieira, who knows that his side have been on a good run. But Jack literally called it before that corner, saying that Palace have been a little bit exposed at set pieces of late, and that last corner kick is very much evidence of that. It was far too easy for Targett to take a touch and just drill that one past. It's still a very good finish from Targett, but he should never have been given as much time as he got. Now it's with Benteke down the right-hand side, takes it down and leaves it here for Elise. Elise under a bit of pressure there from the goal scorer Targett, who slides in and just about gets the ball out for a throw. Looks as though the Villa fans have let off a smoke flare, just the one. Not like the cacophony we saw at the King Power Stadium on Thursday night, where Legia Warsaw seemed to bring every flare they could just about muster into the stadium. But meantime, it's Palace just in possession on the halfway line now with Milivojevic. Over towards Ward on the right-hand side. His pass intended for Gallagher gets a slight deflection off Ramsey, and that allows Mings, who's back on the field and everything fine with him, to go back towards Martinez. He's been closed down by Benteke, and that just forces Martinez to send that clearance a little bit crooked. Hand up there from the Argentine goalkeeper. But we can see Gerrard straight away just trying to organise his team. He knows that this is a time now where if Villa can just frustrate things for a moment, in fact, we're just going to have a break in play here, because there appears to be a problem here for Tyrone Mings, and this looks like it could be a concussion injury.
Yeah, he doesn't look right, does he? He's sat down, he's sort of holding his face. Is Tyrone Mings. Obviously, we have to be really careful with concussions now in football. If there's any sort of sign that he's struggling, he has to be taken off. It won't count as a substitution. Either it will be that concussion substitute. And I think it's important that they monitor this in the right way, regardless of how important Tyrone Mings is to that back line. Sometimes you have to sacrifice them for the health of the player. And it feels like potentially we're in a situation now where, again, we might have to do just that, just to give the player a bit of a rest. I seem to think John McGinn had a similar thing earlier in the season where he had a head injury, stayed on for 10 minutes and then came off because he wasn't right. I think Villa need to be careful here with what they do.
Absolutely. The Villa bench in full is Sanson, Carney, Chukwuemeka, Tuanzebe, El Ghazi, Douglas Luiz, House, Buendia, Ings, and the goalkeeper Jed Steer. So a couple of defensive options. Tuanzebe is certainly one option. Potentially could consider to bring him on if needs be. Whilst we've got this moment, we'll look at the Palace bench as well. It's Ayew, Riedewald, Hughes, Eze, Edouard, Kelly, Schlupp, Klein, and goalkeeper Butland. Well, it looked quite groggy at Tyrone Mings, but knowing the kind of player that he is, he'll be determined to come back on, unless the medical advice is that he definitely can't. And I'm sure he'll be looking to come back on. He has got the captain's armband on, of course. Drop ball here, referee just leaving this ball for Palace on the halfway line, and Mings is back on the field for the time being. Yeah,
I mean, we'll see. It may well just be that he was a bit groggy and he's okay, but it's just one to keep an eye on, because in the
Well,
position.
he hasn't had any treatment either, so if he was sat down and unable to stay on his feet a minute ago, what's changed since the physios have spoken to him? It just seems like maybe he's perhaps just trying to push it a little bit, but you can't blame him. He's very much a determined player, wants to stay on the field. His side are a goal up early on here. It's Palace now trying to go on the attack as a cross into the penalty area is cleared away by Ashley Young, pumped back in towards the Villa penalty area, and there is Conor Gallagher just tripped by Marvellous Nakamba. And this will be a free kick to Palace in a decent position.
Did well, did Gallagher. Brought it down, trapped it well. Just took that little touch away from Nakamba to draw the foul. And as you say, it's in a good position. They don't necessarily have a raft of set-piece takers from this sort of area at Crystal Palace. It'll probably be Luka Milivojevic who will be the man over it. Not really known for his free kick ability from sort of 30-plus yards out. But regardless, an opportunity nonetheless. And Palace, again, having more of the ball, looking the more dangerous. But at the moment, Emi Martinez has had nothing to do.
No, nothing at all. There was one effort which you would have been concerned about. That was the strike from Zaha, which went wide in the end anyway. Milivojevic, as Jack mentioned, more of a penalty kick specialist for Palace rather than a free kick specialist. Elise was stood over. I thought he might have fancied a crack with this with the left foot, but it is Milivojevic. If he's going to cross it, it needs to be quite deceptive here because it's so central. It'll be really obvious to the defence and the goalkeeper where this ball is going. Milivojevic is almost trying to beckon Zaha to move over a little bit, perhaps just to try and distract the wall, distract the goalkeeper. But it is going to be a chip ball into the box here from Milivojevic. It just eludes Tompkins, and it's away for a goal kick. They're always high risk, those sorts of crosses, because you're sort of pinning everything on that one ball, finding that one head in the penalty area. Yeah,
and from it being as central as it was always going to be very difficult for them to actually create anything, because Milivojevic couldn't put much pace on the ball, because the minute he does that, he overhits it. It had to be just floated and hope that then somebody could get there and attack it, and nobody did. So that'll be frustrating. I mean, I was surprised, to be honest, that he didn't at least have a crack or even try and play a little ball through, try and drill it along the floor into Zaha, as you mentioned, was the player that he was asking to move, as Villa now try and come forward.
They do, with Ollie Watkins now down the left-hand side. He gets to the edge of the area. Good run this from Watkins. Milivojevic gets in his way. No penalty, says referee Michael Salisbury. Watkins up on his feet now, feels that it was obvious that he was brought down for a spot kick. I think that's particularly in this day and age, that would have been deemed as being a little bit too easy.
It was soft. He's looking for it, I think, is why he's not been given. Because he takes a touch, he knows the challenge is coming, and he throws himself over it. That's all it was. It was nothing more than that. Milivojevic did get caught flat-footed and stuck a leg out. But because Watkins was waiting for it, and because he threw himself over the leg of Milivojevic, that's why it's not been given. We're just seeing a replay now.
Yeah, I mean, Milivojevic pretty much stands his ground. Watkins runs into him, then falls and says, where's my penalty? And you never know, there would have been a time where decisions like that might have been a little bit more forthcoming, but certainly since the Euros last year, referees have been told to just be a little bit more forgiving in terms of minimal contact, and I think most of us, if not all of us, are going to be very grateful for that. Just to tell you with a bit of housekeeping, that second goal for Liverpool after a VAR review was disallowed, so there's still only 2 goals in the 3 o'clock kickoffs this afternoon. It's Palace 0, Villa 1 here in our game. Liverpool leading Southampton by a goal to 0, and it's goalless between Norwich and Wolves. In the earlier game, Arsenal beat Newcastle by 2 goals to 0. Been a bit of a shaky start for the new ownership at St James's so far, but back here at Selhurst Park, it is now with Cheku Kouyaté, just at the edge of the area here with Conor Gallagher. Options here for Kouyaté. Elise back towards Gallagher. He then plays a crossfield ball looking for Tyrick Mitchell. That's right onto the left foot of Mitchell. Crosses it in looking for Benteke, and he needed to be maybe a yard or two behind that cross, Benteke, just to attack it. In the end, it's a looping header that goes up over the bar.
Yeah, alternatively, the cross needed to be a little bit further in front of him because he's well positioned, is Benteke, but the ball is perfect onto him as opposed to for him to attack, and because of that he's just having to try and divert it with very little power behind himself, and even if it had been on target, it's meat and drink from him. Martinez, I think he'd have caught it easily.
Should have been easy for Emiliano Martinez. It's just a little bit of a breakout here for Villa. We'll just see how this move plays out, then I'll hand over to Jack for the second half of the first 45. It's over towards Matt Targett on the left hand side. It gets the ball in towards Ashley Young. The pressure there from Joel Ward goes back towards Ramsey. Now it's Targett breaking into the box. Finds Bailey. Bit of a heavy touch there from Bailey. Can't get a shot away. Back heels it now, trying to find Young. Young then sweeps the ball towards the near post. Doesn't really get any power behind it, and it's a comfortable save in the end for Vicente Guaita. So we've had nearly 24 minutes now at Selhurst Park. It is Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1, and it will be Jack to take us through to half-time.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you very much. So Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1. At the moment, Villa having the better opportunity, shall we say, but Palace having more of the ball. And coming forward now, Tyrick Mitchell with a ball forward for Christian Benteke, who just looked to sort of flick it to his right to Conor Gallagher on the turn. In the end, it's comfortably through to Emiliano Martinez, who gets his sort of a rare touch, I suppose. He's not had very much to do so far, as Tyrone Mings carries the ball forward just to the left of centre, midway inside his own half, into the goal scorer Matt Targett. Now Ashley Young trying to twist and turn away from Joel Ward. He found Ollie Watkins, who tried to take the ball on the turn with his back to goal. James Tompkins able to step in, and Benteke does really well to bring the ball down on his chest. Looked like he had just a little nudge in the back there as he brought it down. The referee, Michael Salisbury, disagreeing, but it certainly sort of cannoned off his chest as opposed to sitting nicely. Benteke, one of the better players in the Premier League for bringing the ball under his spell, so he'll be disappointed nothing was given as Ashley Young is fouled by Joel Ward, so it will be a free kick to Aston Villa midway inside their own half. And I'm sure Steven Gerrard, Paul, will be relatively pleased with the fact that his side are ahead, because they've not really needed to stretch the legs either.
They haven't, no, and there's not been a shot on target from Palace yet, which, considering we've had 25 minutes and Palace are the home team, that's going to be a worry for Patrick Vieira, just as it's going to be a feather in the cap for Steven Gerrard, because I think there is something about a side that don't need too much possession but can score and then control again. That's a sign of a team that are well organised, and so far Villa do look well organised.
Tyrone Mings will long ball forward from the free kick, looking for Matty Cash, who nods it back in field. Somehow it makes its way to Jacob Ramsey, and now Marvellous Nakamba inside the centre circle. Out to the left-hand side of Matt Targett, who tries a give and go with Ollie Watkins. Michael Elise reads it well, and the former Reading man comes across and clears it. So it will be a Aston Villa throw-in on this near left-hand side, level with the edge of the 6-yard box. Targett, the man with the ball in his hands, looking for an option around him. Ashley Young, Jacob Ramsey, the targets, but Conor Gallagher's the man who's got in the way and then does really well to just about hold on to the ball. He then sort of falls into Matt Targett, leaves him on the ground as Villa continue to come forward here. Nakamba into Bailey inside the penalty area, floated ball from him. It's flicked away by Mark Gurhey as Villa retain possession now. Right-hand side with Ollie Watkins up against Tyrick Mitchell. Plays it infield to John McGinn, who spins well. McGinn goes for goal, not far away from Guaita's right-hand post. Dangerous whipped across goal. And John McGinn not too far from making it 2.
No, well, this is the problem. And Palace had a lot of possession but couldn't create too much with it. Villa with just a little bit of possession in front of the Palace goal and doing work. A really good opening there. That's not far away at all from John McGinn.
Yeah, he did well just to open the space up, did McGinn there. We're disappointed perhaps that he hasn't hit the target, but a player who is used to scoring goals of real quality, and when he has it on that left foot of his, he can achieve anything. 27 minutes on the clock. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1. Independent, unofficial, off-tube, studio-based coverage of the Premier League this afternoon. As Joel Ward has the ball for Crystal Palace just inside their own half. And now Michael Elise with an opportunity to get his head down and drive at the Aston Villa defence. He's now level with the edge of the Villa penalty area. He's had to go back to Joel Ward, who will take a couple of touches before playing a little 1-2 with Conor Gallagher. Not once, but twice. Before Ward the end has to go backwards because Villa at the moment are holding the shape, and that's what's frustrating Crystal Palace.
It is. That's the problem, is that Villa are too well organised, and then again a heavy touch there from Guehi and a chance for a counter.
Yeah, with Leon Bailey, down the right-hand side as Guehi sort of flies into the challenge, brings down Bailey, who's down holding his left ankle. Palace will go on though. Nothing given by the referee, Michael Salisbury, as Wilfred Zaha's reacted to Matty Cash. And Cash sort of just stepped onto Zaha late, and Zaha turned, pushed Matty Cash to the ground. Cash has thrown himself down. I would expect a yellow card to be given here for Wilfred Zaha.
I thought there could have been a foul on Bailey to start with, but then a bit of a nasty one there from... Well, it leaves a bit there on Zaha, and then Zaha pushes him. I think the way that Cash has reacted might be a little bit excessive, but he's right in front of that Villa bench as well. They've got other things to worry about as Bailey is still being checked over. It's probably going to be a booking here for both Cash and Zaha, I would imagine. Zaha's not too pleased with this, but the referee needs to try and get a bit of order.
Yeah, just needs to calm things down a little bit here, Michael Salisbury. Wilfred Zaha booked for the second game in a row for a similar incident as well. He did exactly the same at Turf Moor last week where he took exception to something and pushed someone over and ended up just getting a silly yellow card.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Zaha's not a young player anymore, but if I was facing Zaha next week, if I was the manager of whoever Palace are playing next week, I say that, it's Leeds away next for Palace in midweek, and if I was Marcelo Bielsa, I would be taking players like Dallas, like Ayling, and anyone else, Phillips potentially, just to try and wind Zaha up because he will take the bait.
Leon Bailey, incidentally, is back on his feet now, having been caught just before the incident with Wilfried Zaha. He's limping, is Leon Bailey, so it'll be interesting to see just how he gets on. He seems to be okay, though, as Steven Gerrard just has a few words with his players. Michael Salisbury just trying to maintain order of this game at the moment. The referee has had a couple of interesting decisions, shall we say, to make so far. Matty Cash was also yellow carded. We've just had confirmation of that. His 4th of the season as Michael Elise struggles to bring the ball down. Leon Bailey's back up and running, or hobbling, shall we say. He's not moving too well, but sure he'll run it off. As Aston Villa actually have a free kick here because of a handball against Michael Elise. So an opportunity for Emi Martinez to step forward and take this goal kick. No other goals to tell you about elsewhere in the Premier League. It's still Liverpool 1, Southampton 0 and Norwich 0, Wolves 0. As Martinez will look to loft this forward as we cross the half-hour mark. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1. Martinez, right-footed, lofts the ball forward towards the left-hand side, and Ollie Watkins, as Jacob Ramsey does well to win the second ball, gets to the byline, looks to pull it across. It's blocked by Joel Ward, and it will be a throw-in for Aston Villa deep in Crystal Palace territory on this near left-hand side as we see it. Independent off-tube studio-based commentary. Targett, the man to take into Leon Bailey, returns it back to Targett, and now Ramsey trying to drive at Joel Ward, who actually stands his ground and wins it back. But again, Villa able to win it deep in the Palace half, and then a foul on Tyrone Mings by Christian Benteke sees Aston Villa have a free kick in a dangerous position.
It does, yeah, but you always like to see forwards coming back to try and help in defence, but there's always that risk they could just put in a slightly clumsy challenge, and on this occasion Benteke doesn't get too much of the ball. It's an easy one for the referee, really, and a chance now for Villa to try and get this ball into the box. Yeah,
Ashley Young and John McGinn, the two players over this. It will probably favour McGinn to whip this left-footed out, swinging towards the back post. Young steps towards it, but McGinn is the man to whip it in. It's headed towards goal and over the top by Ezri Konsa. It was a dangerous ball in, though, that from McGinn. Konsa able to get there and attack it, but just couldn't get over the top of the ball, and it was straight over the top.
No, it was, as you say, it was a good ball in, but Konsa just couldn't quite time his jump for that header. But again, it's got to be a warning for Palace that Villa are just that much more productive when they have the ball.
Here's Elise on the right-hand side for Palace, midway inside his own half. Has to go backwards to Joe Ward and James Tompkins. We've not seen much of this from Crystal Palace, really, since the opening 10 minutes. Them actually maintaining a little bit of possession, trying to build something as a aimless ball down the line is won back by Aston Villa as Kouyaté flies into a challenge, then Gallagher inside the centre circle, but it's the visitors who come away with it. Ollie Watkins tries to flick it round a corner under pressure from James Tompkins, but then another poor Palace pass enables Villa to try and break again. Joel Ward coming together with Ashley Young this time. Young went down, didn't really protest for too long, but Palace are just unable to get ahead of steam at all. They're unable to create anything, trying to play just long balls because Aston Villa are continuing to frustrate them, that in turn forces Palace to frustrate themselves.
It does, yeah. I mean, overall, I think that Patrick Vieira won't have too much to be pleased about from this first half. His side haven't been productive enough in possession, and when they've not been in possession, they've allowed Villa to look quite comfortable on the ball, and Villa have been creating the chances. So it's not been anywhere near as good as I was expecting from Palace. Villa have a terrible record here at Selhurst Park, and Palace's form recently has been good, but as you say, you've mentioned those problems in defence, and they've become apparent this afternoon.
Liverpool have doubled their lead against Southampton. Diogo Jota has got his second of the day. Mohamed Salah with the assist. So Liverpool 2, Southampton 0 is the score at Anfield. It's still Norwich 0, Wolves 0 at Carrow Road. And of course, in our game at Selhurst Park, it's Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1. As Villa come forward down the left-hand side, Matt Targett into Jacob Ramsey, who plays it round the corner to Ashley Young, try to give and go with Ollie Watkins, and Watkins will try and turn out now up against Cheku Kouyaté. Good challenge from the central midfielder as Michael Elise waited for the ball from his teammate, but Tyrone Mings was able to step in and win it back, and Villa again just trying to push the buttons and cause Crystal Palace problems, and at the moment Palace are really struggling to get a foothold in this game. Marvellous Nakamba into Young, back to Nakamba once again, just inside the Palace half, and he plays a good ball to Young now, edge of the area, gets the shot off that deflects off Tompkins, and will be a corner for Crystal Palace. Ashley Young claiming a handball. It may well have hit a hand, but Tompkins was very close, and instead it'll be a corner.
Yeah, and as I say, from where that free kick would have been taken, would they have preferred that to a corner kick? We saw that a couple of free kick efforts from Villa so far haven't been great, whereas from a corner kick they've scored, so it might actually be a good thing they've got this corner rather than having a free kick. Yeah,
Tyrone Mings is up there once again, as is Ezri Konsa.
And Mings looks fine for the time being.
He does, yeah. He seems to have shaken off the earlier concussion constraint. Seems to be okay now, and he's being marshalled by James Tompkins in the penalty area. They'll look to try and make this count, will Aston Villa. Palace just need to make sure they defend it better than the last one. As Ashley Young is over it, right-footed out, swinging from the far side, right arm in the air as he lofts it in towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Christian Benteke away, and then John McGinn goes for goal first time on the volley. It's brought down by Tyrone Mings. Young tries to whip it in once again, but Tompkins can bring this down, and Guaita will just have to hook it away right-footed. Benteke does really well to win the ball at the first time of asking, but Aston Villa once again win the second ball, and then McGinn is chopped down by Cheku Kouyaté, so it will be another Aston Villa free kick. And the difference between these two sides so far, John, is that literally Villa are winning every single second ball.
They are. It has been a problem here for Palace in this first half, Jack, especially when you think that after the bright start from Palace in the first few minutes, they tried to get a bit of a control of the game. It hasn't really worked out for them, and the possession stat for the last 10 minutes is 63-37 in favour of Villa, and that shows as well.
Yeah, it does. It's exactly what we've been seeing. So John McGinn is back on his feet, incidentally. He's standing over this free kick, potentially to whip it in, left-footed in, swinging. He leaves it actually for Ashley Young, who whips it in right-footed towards Tyrone Mings, all the way back across the 6-yard box, cleared away by Wilfried Zaha. But that was a big opportunity, that. Mings found himself with acres of space inside the 18-yard box. Again, Palace almost statuesque in the middle, just watched it. And in the end, Mings couldn't get a contact to create a chance. Instead, just cannoned it across the penalty area, and Palace were able to clear.
Palace were eventually able to clear, but look, I mean, when's the last time we saw Palace in possession near Villa's penalty area? It's all happening in Palace's half now, and if Patrick Vieira could call time on this first half now, I think he would like to, because his players just look a little bit lost at sea right now.
Here's Milivojevic into Gallagher. Milivojevic has been caught in possession. A chance for Nakamba. Pulls it across for Watkins. Watkins tries to turn. May well fall for Leon Bailey. A good challenge, though, from Conor Gallagher. Just quashes the Aston Villa press. And now Palace will try and get it away with Tyrek Mitchell's long ball down the line that goes straight out of play. Applause from the Aston Villa bench at the fact that everything they're doing at the moment is working. Palace, as we mentioned earlier, one of the real success stories of the season so far. They've been very impressive, but at the moment they're not impressing anybody, really struggling to get out and cause Aston Villa any sort of problem, as Matty Cash takes this throw in on the right hand side on the halfway line, finds Ollie Watkins, who brings it down well as he looks to turn away. Cheku Kouyaté puts the challenge in, and then there's a foul from Ashley Young, so it will be a free kick as Liverpool have made it 3-0. Thiago with another goal. His goal in midweek against Porto was something special, wasn't it? And he's got himself two in the space of a few days.
Absolutely. He's just struggled with injury and fitness to get into that Liverpool team on a regular basis, but there's absolutely no denying his quality, and fascinating to see what sort of goal he's scored this afternoon. But once again, Palace playing out from the back. You can see why they don't want to clear it long from a goal kick, but they've got no outlet at the moment. Yeah,
really struggling to create anything as Conor Gallagher tries to break now down the right-hand side. Jacob Ramsey does well, the youngster, steps in, wins it comfortably. Now maybe a chance for Villa to break, but that's a poor pass from Marvellous Nakamba. Leon Bailey sort of waited for it, and now Nakamba's chasing back as Palace are pushing forward with Elise on the right-hand side. He's got Joel Ward ahead of him. Ward will have to go backwards, though, to Gallagher, who in turn goes further back, and Milivojevic will then find Tompkins on the halfway line. And Palace are comfortable at getting forward, getting to the edge of the area and coming back. It's the way that they want to play. Not seen enough of it so far, because they've not had possession inside Aston Villa's half, as a long, aimless ball forward from Luka Milivojevic. He's brought down by Aston Villa, and Marvelous Nakamba midway inside his own half finds Matt Targett, who switches the play from left to right to Matty Cash. And now John McGinn back for Cash once again. Bursting over the halfway line, looks to find Ollie Watkins in behind. Well watched though by James Tompkins this time. And now it's Palace's turn to come forward. The game just getting a little bit stretched at Selhurst Park. Elise tries to slot the ball through for Benteke, just ever so slightly too much on it. And Emi Martinez able to get there, but it's a little bit better from Crystal Palace.
That is a little bit better. It was always a difficult one, that, for Elise, because he had so little space to work with, and Villa players stood in front of him as well. Wasn't too far away from finding Benteke, but we need to see more of that from Palace.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beginning to improve from the Eagles. As Tyrone Mings is in possession here, midway inside his own half. He finds Jacob Ramsey into Marvelous Nakamba with room to move into. He finds Ollie Watkins, who's got no space at all. Nakamba, though, once again. Now Leon Bailey, who's come in field just to try and get involved a bit more, and he plays a nice little give and go there with Ashley Young. Looked like he was fouled there by Luka Milivojevic, who'd flown into a challenge. But Palace will come forward regardless with Elise on the right-hand side, again up against Jacob Ramsey, who seems to almost be playing as a left back. He keeps coming across to help out Matt Targett, and it's working relatively well because a lot of Palace's focus right now is through Ward and Elise on this right-hand side.
Which makes you wonder what Mitchell and Zaha are doing wrong on the left. I mean, surely the Palace should be trying to utilise those two players on that left channel as well. But you're absolutely right. We've not seen anything from Mitchell or Zaha for a good while now.
Here is Elise once again on the right. Down the line is Conor Gallagher, right-hand edge of the 18-yard box. Pressed, hassled, harried by Jacob Ramsey. Goes backwards to Elise. Now in field for Milivojevic, whose first touch was poor, and maybe a chance for Villa to break with Nakamba. Into Watkins, who's just pressed by Cheikhou Kouyaté. The red and blue stripes of the Crystal Palace players have flooded back and now can try and flood forward. Benteke breaking inside the Villa half. Twisted, gets to the edge of the area, gets inside the area. Mings does really well, stands his ground and somehow manages to clear. Better again from Villa, getting into a good position, but it was so easy for Benteke to get into the box until Tyrone Mings stepped in.
Mings gets towards Benteke at the edge of the area, and you've got to credit Mings that he doesn't dive in, doesn't slide in, just uses his body, uses the fact that there was a bit of pace on the ball already, and really a couple of good pointers there for any young defender trying to learn how to mark in that situation.
Here's Elise at the corner flag, looks to whip the ball in, it deflects behind off Matt Targett, and it will be a corner opportunity for Crystal Palace, a chance again for them to get the likes of Tompkins and Gurhey forward. And of course, Christian Benteke, who's in there as well. Scored a brace last week, did Benteke. They'll look to try and get on the end of this from Elise. Left-footed in, swinging in towards the far side of the box, flapped away by Martinez. It's actually not the worst of contacts from him as Gallagher plays the ball into the box, and then Martinez does what he does really well. Comes out, claims it quickly, then looks to release the play as quick as he can, but the referee, Michael Salisbury, has pulled it back because Matt Targett, unfortunately, was under Martinez as he went to claim that ball. He
was, yeah, and he just needs a moment in Matt Targett. I don't think the physio is going to be necessary. The referee just came across to check with the Villa left-back that everything was fine. And we'll just see from this replay here. Yeah, just did a bit of an elbow down onto the back of the head of Matt Targett there.
Yeah, again, it's good goalkeeping from Martinez. Got out, got there quickly, claimed it well. We've got about 2.5 minutes to go, plus any time to be added on until half-time. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1, and Villa at the moment, good value for the lead.
Villa are good value for the lead, but I said about 5 minutes ago that Palace probably wouldn't mind an early half-time. Now probably Villa wouldn't mind the first half just ending as it is now, because Palace are just starting to grow in confidence a little bit. Had a couple of half chances down that right-hand side. But I would expect we're going to get at least 2 minutes of injury time in this first half anyway because of the stoppages we've had.
Terry Mitchell to take a throw in here, midway inside his own half on that far left-hand side. He's got Wilfred Zaha down the line and he finds Benteke, who goes to play it first time, misses it, it bounces off Benteke, who somehow retains possession, and then a long ball forward will try and unleash Wilfred Zaha, who fouls Ezri Konsa. Good defending from Konsa, knew that if he stepped across, Wilfred Zaha would bundle into him and that the free kick would be given, and a chance for Villa just to wind themselves towards the break, I think, at the moment, as Jacob Ramsey has the ball in the centre circle, just to the left of centre, plays it out to this near left-hand side and Targett. Now Ramsey once again into Nakamba, all being played slightly to the left of centre, around the halfway line. as Joel Ward is adjudged to have fouled Ashley Young there, and he just went through the back of him, and it's going to be a yellow card for Joel Ward. It was a rash challenge. It's one of those he doesn't need to go to ground there.
Well, he seems very frustrated there, Joel Ward, like he can't believe this decision. I mean, perhaps there isn't a huge amount of contact, but it's very late, and it's just poorly thought out. There was very little chance of him getting the ball. It was a high-risk challenge, and it's his 4th booking of the season. Yeah,
unnecessary from Joel Ward. We're into the final minute then of the opening 45. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1, as John McGinn plays the free kick early into Ollie Watkins. Watkins in the area, tries to twist and turn, goes down in the box under the challenge of Kouyaté. Watkins is asking the question. Luka Milivojevic is going across and telling him to shut up, essentially. A goal kick's been given. Michael Salisbury may well just need to wait for VAR to have a little chat. Kouyaté and Watkins are in conversation. Kouyaté doesn't really commit to a challenge at any point, but Watkins, there is contact and Watkins goes down.
He does. I mean, but that one replay hasn't swung it for me. Looking at it live, I wasn't sure that it was going to be a penalty either. And the fact that we've restarted play now obviously means that VAR have had a look at the same 2 replays and they feel they've seen enough. No penalty.
Yeah, very quick review from VAR as a ball down the line unleashes Conor Gallagher. Gallagher with an early ball into the box that's just too heavy, or too far ahead, should I say, of Christian Benteke. So Emi Martinez is able to claim it. We are 5 seconds into 3 minutes added on then at the end of this first half. Martin Atkinson, the man with the board. So an opportunity then maybe for Palace to continue to put the pressure on. But it's been a really open game, actually. As much as Villa had a 20-minute spell in the middle where they were completely on top, the last sort of 10 minutes, Palace have come into the game. It has opened up.
It has. I mean, it's a worry for Vieira that his side have still yet to have a shot on target in the first 45. And that's something they're going to have to obviously change with the scoreline being what it is. But bailing out, caught in possession there by Zaha. Straight away, though, pressure from McGinn, and Villa still have the ball.
Yeah, they've done really well to make something of it as well. McGinn with a cross into the box. Tompkins leaves it for Guaita, and then Joel Ward sort of somehow manages to just stab it away. But a real breakdown in communication there from Crystal Palace. It was just a nothing ball into the area from McGinn. Takes a deflection off Mitchell. Tompkins leaves it for Guaita, who's expecting Tompkins to clear it. And in the end, Joel Ward has to clear it away. I don't think it's going in, but Joel Ward has to just scuff it away to prevent them getting in.
Based on the way that Guaita didn't react until the very last second, are we assuming that obviously he didn't call for it then? And Tompkins just assumed that he was going to get it, which is the opposite of what we saw at the other end, where Martinez should have called a cross that he was going to catch. But now an in-swinging corner from the left-hand side from Ashley Young.
Yeah, to be whipped in here. And he steps up to it right-footed. Dangerous ball in, but too close to Guaita, who almost catches it at sort of chest level and then slices the ball out, looking for Wilfried Zaha. It's brought down by Matty Cash, who's pressed quickly by Zaha, just turns away from him. It's not been a first half to remember so far for Wilfried Zaha, as McGinn plays it out to the right-hand side, and Konsa under pressure from Kouyaté. Throws himself to the ground there, does Ezri Konsa. It didn't look like there was any contact at all. It's half-time at Liverpool and half-time at Norwich. Liverpool 3, Southampton 0, Norwich 0, Wolves 0. And we've got just under a minute to go at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1. In what's been a frustrating first half for Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace. But Steven Gerrard will be relatively pleased, I think, with what his Villa side have done, as Leon Bailey looks to battle away in the box. It's cleared away. And now an opportunity maybe for Palace to break with Zaha again. He was away from Cash. Mings goes to ground and wins it. And it's in the end come off Wilfried Zaha and gone away for a throw into Aston Villa.
Well, that was at least something played towards Zaha down the left-hand side. He's not had anywhere near enough of the ball for my liking in these first 45 minutes. And with just a few seconds now with the first half still to play, I think overall Palace will be pleased that they've had moments where they've improved, but clearly not enough to really trouble this Villa defence.
Plenty of frustration from Wilfried Zaha on that left-hand side, annoyed at the fact that Aston Villa did everything they could to not take the throw in there, taking as long as they possibly can. Michael Salisbury has a look at his watch. We've played over the 3 minutes added on as Matty Cash launches the ball down the line as the half-time whistle blows. So Aston Villa lead. Matt Targett's goal, all that separates the two at the break at half-time. It's Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1. Join us in 15 minutes for the second half.